Hello ladies and gentlemen, ShadowRock here with a news roundup on Azure Striker Gunvolt. Now, I haven't talked about this game on this channel much at all, so in case you haven't heard of Gunvolt for whatever reason, I'll give you a summary of what it's all about. However, if you're already familiar with the series, click on the annotation to skip to the news. Now, Azure Striker Gunvolt is yet another video game series developed by Inti Creates and KJ Inafune that takes inspiration from Mega Man. However, whereas My Number 9 poses itself as a copy of the Mega Man Classic series, Gunvolt plays more like Inti's own Mega Man 0 and ZX series. That being said, while Gunvolt does follow the standard formula of a Mega Man game, having an intro stage, some stages you can tackle in any order, and finally the end stages, the story and gameplay has a good bit of originality to it that propels the series beyond being just another Mega Man clone. That's why, while some will say this is a spiritual successor to Mega Man 0, Gunvolt really stands out as its own thing entirely. To give you an example, instead of focusing on robots, Gunvolt's story revolves around humans with unique supernatural powers called adepts. In fact, the main character Gunvolt, aka GV, is an adept himself, and his fighting style involves tagging enemies with his gun before striking with lightning to dispatch his enemies, which is how you'll do most of your damage since the gun itself is weak. Aside from that, GV can also do other Mega Man X maneuvers such as dash and wall jump, which is definitely appreciated. Now, another big part of the series is muses. In the first game, GV takes care of a girl named Jewel who has the alter ego Lumen, who can occasionally sing songs to you. Besides the muses' songs themselves being awesome, they will also give you a major power boost for as long as it's in effect. Throughout the game, you'll run into other adepts who have their own abilities, and they will give you weapons upon defeating them. Not quite to the extent of Mega Man though, at least for the first game, as you merely obtain guns that work slightly different from each other. But hey, it's something. You also have a rival named Copen who wants to wipe adepts off the face of the earth. Yikes. We'll talk more about him later though, and that will actually do it for my summary without going into much detail. I recently finished the first game on the 3DS and I thought it to be a nice little game. So I recommend checking it out on the Nintendo 3DS or Steam if you need something to scratch your mega itch or just looking for a shocking 2D action game. I will note, however, that the Steam version has a lot of extra content that is yet to be added to the 3DS version, including a better translation, Japanese voiceovers, and extra modes if that means anything to you at all. Now that that long introduction is out of the way, let's get right into the news, shall we? First of all, the sequel, Azure Striker Gunvolt 2, is on its way this summer, both digitally in the Nintendo 3DS eShop for $15, and it is also being packaged with the first game and a $30 physical release and launching September 30th. More on that later though. Now, Azure Striker Gunvolt 2 was first shown off at MagFest 2016 in February. Aside from showing us that the gameplay and graphics will be identical to the first game, as well as being treated to a sweet new song and boss, it was also revealed that Gunvolt himself got an entirely new design and they had to redo his sprite as a result. Not too long after that, Gunvolt 2 got another trailer during the March 3rd Nintendo Direct, where we got to see the new playable character Copen. Yup, that's right, you can play as GV's rival now, complete with his own muse known as Lola and his own separate story. Copen's main attacks involve dashing to enemies to tag and firing homing shots. He also obtains special weapons from the bosses that he defeats. As you can tell, Copen's gameplay actually appears to be the closest to the blue bomber that we all know and love. Heck, the more I think about it, the more his fighting style reminds me of Beck from My Number 9. Since that time, a flood of information has come out on the game. Let's start with a summary of the story. It is the near future, and a new population of people known as adepts are being born with supernatural abilities known as Septima. Gunvolt, having put a stop to Sumeragi Group's plan to control all the world's adepts known as the Diva Project, has begun to heal both his body and mind from the deep wounds caused by that incident. However, the passage of time does not always allow warriors scarred by battle to truly relax. Enter Eden, a group of super powerful adepts from all corners of the globe. Now, Gunvolt and Copen must stand up and face a new threat. Before we talk about Eden, let's actually give a recap on the main antagonist from the first game, the Sumeragi Group. The Sumeragi Group is an extremely influential conglomerate that is primarily made up of power companies. Since Sumeragi holds an ironclad monopoly on the nation's energy supply, they have expanded their presence to the nation's media, space development, and military technology, making them such a powerful force that they became the nation's de facto rulers. Having been the first organization to take notice of the growing amount of Septimal power, and apps around the world. Sumeragi also spearheads all research on the subject. Now, they own all the technology that is capable of restraining and harnessing septimal power. The Sumeragi group created storage devices called glaives, which control the flow of a user's septimal energy. Normally an adept has what is called a septimosum inside their bodies, which allows them to use their septimal powers at will. The adepts under Sumeragi's command, however, have had their septimosum extracted and stored inside sword-shaped devices known as glaives that can be remotely controlled. This allows Sumeragi to prevent any unwanted outbursts of septimal energy from those under their control. When an adept is in danger, Sumeragi's adept monitoring facility can give a go-ahead order for the adept to unleash the septimosum inside the glaive. The septimosum then fuses with the adept and triggers a complete body transformation. Currently, those glaives are the only means for an adept to repress their powers and live a normal life. With that out of the way now, time to introduce the new group featured in the sequel. Eden is a multinational group of adepts from all corners of the globe, whose powers do not compare to that of ordinary humans. They have begun to amass throughout the nation and consist mainly of adepts who were oppressed by non-adepts in the past. The Seven are a group of 7 particularly powerful adepts within Eden. Unlike the Sumeragi group, Eden itself does not have a hierarchical system for its members, but these particular adepts hold many positions of command and are quite beloved within the ranks of Eden's members. They each possess a book of great power known as a grimoire. Grimoires are the catalyst that the Seven use to transform into their powered up forms. Using top secret technology that they pilfered from Sumeragi, these grimoires were created using data from glaives that were usurped, combined with the power of the Muse. Unlike the glaives, which were used by Sumeragi to control the adepts that wielded them, the grimoires are purely used to strengthen their wielders. The adepts who wield these grimoires can use their abilities without transforming into their more powerful forms, which means the powers they wield post-transformation are greater than that of any former Sumeragi-controlled adept. In addition, we also have information on 3 characters from within Eden. The first character is called Teseo. His hack the planet system allows him to take physical material and transform it into computer data, and conversely take data and manifest it into the real world. He was a former contributor at a website for uploading foreign movies, and once things went south for his beloved website, he became fascinated by Eden's transmission equipment and decided to join up with them. He uses a lot of internet slang in his everyday speech and irritates everyone around him every time he opens his mouth. He by no means does this intentionally though. Next we have, and I know I'm going to butcher this, Gari. His Prism Cataclysm Septima allows him to create crystals at will. A former street dancer, his constantly amped up, upbeat attitude is quite infectious within Eden. For better or worse, he will speak in rhymes, to the point where a sentence will lose its meaning just so he can complete a successful rhyme. If he coats the ground of a crystalline material, he can glide along the surface like a roller skating rink. He's currently working day and night on combining the powers of his Crystal Generation Septima with a hot new original dance. Finally, we have a mysterious girl who appears before Gunvolt and Copen. She expresses herself with a level of poise and order that does not befit her childish appearance. She is an adept, but both her abilities and her goal are unknown. Now that we've introduced the antagonists, let's talk about Team Gunvolt and Team Copen in more detail, starting with GV. There's actually a big spoiler, I mean a huge spoiler from the first game coming up in Team GV's descriptions, so you may want to turn the video off until we get to Team Copen if you yet to play the first game. Gunvolt is an incredibly powerful adept with the ability to control lightning. He fights using a gun that fires special darts that when locked on into an enemy, allows him to strike with pinpoint accurate electrical attacks. The soul of a departed adept, known as Jewel, now resides within him, and with them perfectly synchronized as one, his power has been increased to its absolute utmost limits. Still reeling from the profound loss and pain he experienced from his past battles, his chance meeting with a girl named Ulka helped him get back on his feet. Joel exists completely in the form of a spirit residing inside Gunvolt's body. She once existed as a young adept girl, but upon her untimely death, her spirit was released from her physical body, and now she exists only in that form. Once a very shy girl, she has become much bolder since the events of the previous game, in some ways becoming more like her former alter ego, the virtual pop star Lumen. Her septimal power is the Muse, which enables her to fully synchronize with Gunvolt and increase his abilities through the power of her singing. In her previous form as Lumen, she had a more adult-like appearance, but after a certain incident, she lost a large amount of power, and her appearance changed into a more childlike form. Now we have two more characters representing Team GB. Quinn is an ordinary girl with no sentinel powers. Recently she was on the wrong end of a nasty encounter with a murderous adept, and only made it out alive thanks to Gunvolt. Since that day, she has been taking shelter at Gunvolt's home. She was born into a family that runs a massive financial conglomerate and lived by herself, hidden away from society in a large estate until the day she crossed paths with Gunvolt. She could be a bit of an airhead sometimes, but she has a kind and gentle demeanor and is a tremendous moral support for Gunvolt. Xiao Wu works closely with Gunvolt, providing support for him as an operator. He prefers to be just called Xiao. He worked for a division of Quill in his own country, Quill being the organization Gunvolt worked for in the first game to stop the Sumeragi group. But after Xiao's unit was suddenly taken over by the invading forces of Eden, he fled across the sea to join up with Gunvolt to report the invasion. He's a pretty straight-laced, serious guy. He's usually quite calm and gentle, but because of his deep hatred for Eden and their role in the invasion of his homeland, the subject can reveal a very emotional side of him that is not often seen. Alright, let's move on to Team Copen then. Copen is the son of a famous scientist who researched detailed the dangerous threat that adepts pose to society. To honor the dying wish of his late father, Copen fights to eradicate all adepts from the world. While he may be a normal human without any sentinel powers, his technological prowess and combat abilities exceed that of many adepts. Since the events of the last game, Copen has completely revamped his gear. His new gear is designed for maximum mobility, which allows him to dash through the air and perform mid-air attacks like never before. He is also now accompanied by Lola, a combat bot that aids in offense, defense, and mobility. Lola is an autonomous combat pod, or ACP for short, designed to regulate the control of Copen's personal array of combat drones, also known as bits. Because of this, she thinks of herself as kind of Copen's official guardian, for better or for worse. During her AI development period, she would often serve as a conversational partner for Copen's little sister. Through this, she picked up the habit of referring to Copen as boss. At a certain point in the story, she gains the abilities of the Muse, just like Joel. Midel is Copen's twin younger sister, who like her twin brother, does not possess any sentinel powers. Due to her weak constitution, she spends her days living in a long-term medical care facility. She has been extremely frail since birth, and due to a surgery she had at a very young age, she lost her voice and now communicates with people via a tablet. Likely due to her frail constitution and being in long-term medical care, she is quite small in stature, which gives many people the impression that her and Copen were born many years apart, but they are in fact the same age. Copen does not speak to her at all about his battles. Lastly, we have Nori. Nori is a super cool and collected maid that works for Copen and Midel. She also acts as Copen's operator when he goes out on missions. From housework to battle support, she can handle it all with the greatest of ease. While most of the time she acts as a maid to Copen and Midel, sometimes she steps out of that role and into one that's more like a foster parent. A very strict foster parent. Copen has enormous amounts of financial assets, which allows him to do technical research and enact his revenge, neither of which she objects to helping him do. As for her own personal assets, well, that's a mystery. Alright, and with that, we've finally gotten through the bulk of the info from Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. We're not done just yet though, as we have even more news that has been coming out of the woodwork this month. At Anime Fest 2016 on July 4th, NT Creates took the stage and made two shocking announcements. The first announcement came with a trailer revealing that an anime OVA based on Azure Striker Gunvolt is on the way. It is being produced by Land Q Studios and will be available winter 2016 via on-demand services. That trailer sure got my sparks flying. The second announcement is about the previous mentioned physical release coming to North America and being published by Yacht Club Games of Shovel Knight fame. It is a 2-pack for the Nintendo 3DS called Azure Striker Gunvolt Striker Pack. It contains both the first game and the new sequel for $30, and while the sequel itself currently lacks a release date any more specific than summer 2016, the physical release is launching on September 30th. While nothing is confirmed, it is a safe guess that the digital version of Gunvolt 2 will release then as well for a mere $15. The last bit of news we got a couple days ago is something we should have all expected as soon as we learned that Yacht Club Games is indeed publishing the physical edition. Yep, you probably guessed it, the blue burrower himself, Shovel Knight, is making his own cameo in Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. He will be a boss that you can fight with either Gunvolt or Copen. Just be careful he doesn't dig your grave. His new sprite was created by Masaya Suzuki, whose works include Breath of Fire and Zero Sprite from Mega Man Zero. There is one catch, however. In classic Nintendo fashion, you're going to need that Shovel Knight amiibo to trigger the encounter, which does bring up some availability issues. First of all, you're naturally going to need the new Nintendo 3DS or the amiibo reader accessory to actually use the amiibo. The second problem is owning the Shovel Knight amiibo itself. Luckily, amiibo aren't nearly as rare as they used to be, and Shovel Knight is pretty common from what I've seen, so it could be a lot worse. All in all, with the promise of more of what we liked from the original, 2 playable characters, and Shovel Knight's appearance, Gunvolt 2 is shaping up to be quite the electrifying experience. That's going to cover it for this news roundup though. Thank you guys so much for watching, and for more on Azure Striker Gunvolt, including possibly a live stream of the games and other things mega, stay tuned to ShadowRockZX. Until next time, rock on.
Now, it's time to confront a formidable new enemy. Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. In the face of turmoil, a path toward hope beckons.